finish this off and move into a second-place time block. Baseball pass to Buddy, who runs it down in the corner. Offensive end, spins away, drives, lays it up. He got it, then he's fouled, and one. Oh, and you can unhitch that wagon.
This is After Hours with Amy Lawrence.
The voice of Toby Rowland, Learfield Sports, the home of Oklahoma Sooner men's basketball. Big game coming up for OU on Wednesday night against Oklahoma State. And this one happens to be in Norman, where OU plays, Lloyd Noble Center. Man, I have attended many a game there. But it's called Bedlam. It's their big rivalry, in-state rivalry, OSU versus OU. And after dropping 3 of 4 games, the Sooners came up with a huge victory on the road at West Virginia, so in Morgantown on Saturday. They definitely needed that. Back on track now for the third-ranked Sooners. It's After Hours with Amy Lawrence, CBS Sports Radio, CBSSportsRadio.com. We're going to get right to your tweets and your calls about which athletes out there handle the media, and the media responsibility is the best, but you can find me on Twitter at ALawRadio. Earlier, though, on Tuesday, I had the chance to catch up with OU men's basketball coach Lon Kruger. He was gracious enough to set aside some time for us as March is nearly here. And I started out by asking him about this victory at West Virginia. His guys going in there, putting together a really strong game and a strong finish. And I asked him how critical it was after the last couple of weeks.
Very critical for exactly that reason. Last couple of weeks we haven't played quite with the same pep. Of course, anytime you line up in the Big 12, if you don't play with great enthusiasm and great execution, you're probably not going to win. And that was the case last couple of weeks. We dropped a couple there to good teams who were playing well, but we needed to get one in the right column and to do it at West Virginia against a very good club. Good for our guys' spirit.
What's the reason, do you think, Coach, that the team hadn't played with as much pep, as you say, over the previous couple of weeks?
I think a combination of things. Maybe handling that number 1 ranking, maybe a little burden to that. I don't know that we quite handled that as well as we could have, or fully knew what was accompanying that. Then, of course, the other teams are good. If you are just a little less than full throttle, then the other teams are probably going to beat you, and that's the way it is in the Big 12.
I used this analogy on my show recently, and I'd love to hear what you think. The Big 12 is the SEC of college basketball. From someone who's inside it, dealing with it on a night-in and night-out basis, what's it like to navigate this conference that is a behemoth in college basketball?
Yeah, it's probably a good comparison. Again, seven of the 10 right now projected to be in the top 8 seeds in the tournament. So every night you line up, whether it be at home or on the road, it's going to be a battle, and it's a grind. And it's one you look forward to. It's great. That's why players sign on to play in the Big 12. They know it's going to be tough every night, and yet it does wear you down a little bit throughout the year.
Okay, Coach, but how do you maneuver through a conference slate like this where you need these victories and they're good for your team, but you also don't want your guys to get worn down just in the regular season knowing what's to come?
There's a fine line. Again, you try to keep fresh. I think fresh legs at this point in the season is a priority to us. So we shorten practice a lot. We watch more video. We have more breakdown work. And yet you have to be sharp for the games that are coming up next. So there's a fine line there. And again, like you say, with our 3 senior captains, great leadership. They know what lies ahead. So we probably have a little more flexibility given their experience.
We're spending a few minutes with Oklahoma men's basketball coach Lon Kruger getting set for Bedlam against Oklahoma State in Norman on Wednesday night. It's After Hours with Amy Lawrence here on CBS Sports Radio. So, Coach, speaking of experience, we talked about this last year right before the tournament tipped off. It's nearly unheard of to have a core group of guys like yours that has been together for so long. You've started the same 5, all 26 games, 3 of them seniors. You got a junior in there as well. How valuable is that experience and that continuity for your team?
No substitute for experience, and there's no shortcut to getting there. So these guys have played a lot together. They're not going to be surprised by, an atmosphere on the road. They're going to be surprised by the quality of the opposition. So, they can focus on, doing what they need to in preparation and fully knowing what lies ahead and how tough that challenge is.
The sport has turned so much toward one and dones because of the talent, and I certainly understand why guys leave school after 1 year. But how much does it mean to you personally, Coach, that you've had an opportunity to work with your young men, with your players, multiple years and see them through this entire process?
It's fantastic, and maybe the most satisfying thing is knowing that these guys have been together now for 4 years, and they're gonna have that relationship for a lifetime. They don't fully realize it at this point, but they're gonna have that as a result of being together 4 years and going through all the battles and the ups and downs and the spontaneous celebrations and the disappointments. They'll have a common reference point for the rest of their lives, and they'll look back 20 years from now and appreciate that. And that, from a coaching standpoint, is good to know what lies ahead for them in terms of their relationships.
So I saw a quote from Buddy Hield talking about those 2 weeks where you had dropped 3 of 4, that the team wasn't having as much fun out there on the court. But then in the West Virginia game, it was more fun for them. Did you see that, Coach?
I did see that, yeah. And I think that's part of the burden that came with those, that number one ranking, and the fact that all of a sudden the pressure shifted a little bit and we're not making shots, and our energy defensively, because we're not making shots, is diminished a little bit, and I think the guys step back and they recognize what they had been going through, and kind of rededicated themselves to getting back to playing for each other and competing like crazy and having fun. And I thought they did do that in Morgantown.
What a gem you have in Buddy Hield. People want to watch him play basketball. Anytime Oklahoma comes up, his name is the first one that's dropped. He has elevated his game even from last year when he was pretty darn good. So, Coach, how have you seen him grow even more into this role as a star?
He's been fantastic. Obviously, Big 12 Player of the Year last spring, had a great year, and still, across the board, improved a lot in every aspect of his game. So from that starting point, it's kind of hard to improve that much. And yet Buddy's done that. He's really been focused with his workouts in the last spring and summer and throughout the fall. And he's very passionate about getting better. Every day he goes to the gym, and even with a target on his back, he's been about as consistent as you can be through 26, 27 ball games as any player I've ever seen, and consistent at a very high level too.
So do you ever stand there on the sidelines and go, whoa, or wow, like the rest of us do when we watch Buddy play?
We do, actually. His uncanny ability to make shots. He'll be going full speed on a break and stop and pull up and knock one down. And he makes it look fairly routine, but it's not. It's a very difficult shot, and yet he's practiced it. He's prepared to do that, and it's been pretty impressive, again, how consistent his production has been.
OU men's basketball coach Lon Kruger with us here after hours. I'm Amy Lawrence, CBS Sports Radio. The stat that jumped out from that West Virginia win was the 9 block shots, at least for me. I know you guys are known for offense, Coach, but how would you evaluate where your team is defensively right now as you approach March?
We've been a little inconsistent on that end. At times we've been very good defensively, and other times we've been very average. So we've got to be more consistent defensively. It has to come from the group doing it as 1 5-on-5. I thought West Virginia effort was as good as we've had in that area. And of course, Kadeem Lattin blocking 6 shots, helps us shore up any mistakes from that front line position. So we've got to do it together, and we've got to communicate better and be a little bit more physical. And I thought we took some steps again in Morgantown.
How much of a choice do you have, really, right? When you're talking about the Big 12, Kansas, West Virginia, you've got Bedlam coming up. This is a really physical conference night in and night out.
Extremely. Yeah, absolutely. You got really good players, and we got older players, too. Kansas is an older team. Iowa State's an older team. West Virginia has some great experience. A lot of the teams in the top half, have players who have been around for 2 or 3 years, and anymore in college, those are your more veteran teams.
Coach Kruger, last thing before I let you go. You and I spoke as your team was going into March Madness in the NCAA tournament a year ago. And I know the expectations were really high. It was a disappointing finish, not what you were hoping for. As you look back at where that team was nearly a year ago, what's the biggest difference between that group and this team? A lot of the same personnel, but where this team is right now.
Well, the experience adds to their awareness of what lies ahead. Last year, I think guys were hopeful and thinking they could do it. This year, throughout the year, the groups competed consistently at a very high level against very good competition and been successful. Also lost ball games, but still, I think just a little more confidence with the expectations. And yet, of course, they have to line up and finish and line up and take care of business. But I think they've got just a little more genuine confidence than maybe a year ago, and that comes with being a year older.
Certainly the Big 12 has turned into appointment television now, must-see TV. Looking forward to this game against Bedlam on Monday night. The Sooners tied for third in the national rankings at 21-5. Head coach Lon Kruger. So good to catch up with you. Thanks so much for a couple of minutes.
My pleasure. Thanks, Amy.